This popular animation studio has been breaking the backs of its artists, making them work insane hours with barely no sleep, insufficient pay for all their effort, and working insane deadlines animating your favorite show while it was being aired at the same time. Welcome to Studio MAPPA, the anime industry's knight in shining armor, blessing us with amazing shows like Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, Maboroshi. The list goes on and on. But it will seem the cost of blessing our eyes with these glorious masterpieces of 16 moving drawings per second is the animators being pushed to the brink of normal human capacity, making them work insanely long hours, ridiculous deadlines, and practically impossible studio situations, leading to multiple artists having numerous mental health breakdowns. This animator shared what it looked like working on Attack on Titans behind the scenes, and taking one glance at the animator, you can tell they have been fighting metaphorical demons and losing hours of sleep every night, judging from just how bad their eyes looked. And this is coming from someone that also has bad eyes. People immediately noticed his eye bags and started leaving comments begging the studio to let him sleep or give him a week off. But the artist replied to one of the comments saying he had only 2 days in an entire week to rest after working almost all day long every single day. He also mentioned if he spoke more about the situation, he could get automatically fired. It will also seem he's the art director at Studio MAPPA, and everyone in the comments all immediately started showing concern for him and his health. Another TikTok user posted a video from the same interview showing how tired and depressed the animators working at Studio MAPPA were after working on Attack on Titans, and they were all looking extremely exhausted. But as you would expect, TikTok's reaction to these artists just complaining about how they're being worked to the brim has been to make memes out of the situation, turning the realities of most of these animators into myopic parodies to quote-unquote lighten the situation, which really isn't helping the artists in any way. I mean, take a look at this one for example.
Happy holidays, everyone! I have a gift for all of you! You guys are reanimating all of Naruto! I can't do this anymore. I'm going on strike. Oh, you're going on strike? Why don't you ask your wife what she thinks about that? What'd you do to her? Does anybody else want to go on strike? Awesome, guys! We'll keep up with the great work, okay? Guess what? We just picked up One Punch Man Season 3! Oh, come on, guys. What's with attitude? Hey, how's this 5,000 frames going?
Can I get paid?
Of course, here you go. Hey, how's Vinland Saga Season 2 going?
Can I see my family?
Of course not. Hey, how's Attack on Titan Season 4 Part 3 going?
Now don't get me wrong, there isn't anything inherently bad with making humorous jokes about the situation, but these jokes are made at the expense of the artists and animators, and nothing is being done to change their day-to-day experience working at Studio MAPPA, or at least reduce their workload so they could sleep and properly rest their bodies after working so much. Just scrolling through the hashtag MAPPA animators will bless your eyes with many memes of the MAPPA situation, all showing the artists in gruesome situations as the butt of the joke. Life life of the animators working in the studio have apparently become every meme's plot point at the end of every video. It will seem Studio MAPPA itself released a new show that follows the life of an animator working in the studio, which also had a lot of people on TikTok questioning the welfare of Studio MAPPA animators, calling the show a disguised cry for help by the artists. MAPPA making their animators animate their own torture. That's crazy. This is gonna be the most depressing anime ever. Imagine animating your workday. While it hasn't been directly confirmed if the show is based on an actual animator's life, it does explore quite a lot of themes from the animation industry and references the different experiences of artists and animators working directly in the animation industry. But MAPPA wasn't always known as the studio suffocating its artists with exhaustion and overworking them to the core. Actually, it started off as a rather safe haven. Studio MAPPA was founded in 2011 by Masao Maruyama, a well-known figure in the anime world and a co-founder of popular animation studio Madhouse. He later left Madhouse and decided to start his own animation studio, MAPPA, which stands for Maruyama Animation Produce Project Association, which is rather a lot to say out loud, so MAPPA is just fine. MAPPA's early years started off with producing Terror in Resonance, Kids on the Slope, and Yuri on Ice, which became global hits and brought in a wave of new fans to the studio. It will seem MAPPA had quite the promising future ahead of them and were just getting their metaphorical feet wet, blessing their fans with good shows after the next. The studio then produced Dorohedoro, Kakeguri, but their real step into the limelight came when they picked up Attack on Titan the final season, after which studio dropped it. And all of a sudden, Studio MAPPA wasn't just any other animation studio. They immediately became what the TikTok kids refer to as peak, casually animating violence, emotion, and insanity and making it look effortlessly easy, all the while pumping out masterpiece after masterpiece. Next, MAPPA released Jujutsu Kaisen, which immediately blew up, taking over the world of anime. JJK became one of the biggest animes since Demon Slayer almost in an instant, and MAPPA decided they still had more where that came from and rolled out fan artists and everyone else's favorite, Chainsaw Man, which immediately solidified MAPPA as one of the goats of the animation industry. But it will seem all these good shows were being released in such quick succession, which got people thinking, how was it even possible for the studio to animate all of this almost at the same time? Studio MAPPA's production pipeline is metaphorically chaos in a trench coat after shocking revelations were brought to light by animators who worked at the studio. Animators who worked on Chainsaw Man claimed they were working 10 to 14 hours a day, and some even said they received no prep time and were assigned scenes just days before they were due. Some freelancers who also worked with Studio MAPPA have gone on record saying the schedules were unrealistic, with the pay also being low compared to the amount of work they were putting in. And to top that off, revisions came in at the last minute with no room to give them any time to catch their breath. Some animators even refused to return for the next season of Jujutsu Kaisen because of how bad the experience was. Artist and animator lilrdky shared a 2-part video series talking about their experience working at Studio MAPPA and even going as far as breaking down every single thing that happened along the way.
After everything that has happened on the show, I felt like I was truly going through it. I think like the very first intro, I was very like, I want to say happy, but like pretty normal, like, oh yeah, I'm excited to work on the show, whatever. And at that time and moment, it was like any other anime production I worked on. And then somewhere we took a hard left turn and it became a roller coaster ride. So yeah, I went from like, I'm excited to work on this show with a director that I really admire, to progressively tired, exhausted, angry, and depressed.
Each video is really good and almost an hour long, so make sure you go watch those videos after watching this one if you want to know what it really takes working at Studio MAPPA, or basically what it takes to freelance for an animation studio. Apparently, it will seem Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 in particular broke the poor animators working on the show into tiny bits and pieces that couldn't be put back together again. The show was being produced on an insanely week-to-week schedule while it was still airing at the same time, which is just literally insane. The animators definitely wouldn't even be allowed to take a minute to rest, and trying to take a short nap during your break time will probably get you smacked on the back of your head. This was literally modern day slavery. You cannot tell me otherwise. Apparently, storyboards for the final episodes weren't even done when the first ones were airing, and some cuts were animated the same week they were supposed to be broadcasted. MAPPA animators literally drawing scenes during the week they were being aired to millions of viewers is an insane time crunch I can't even begin to explain to the normal person. According to Studio MAPPA CEO Monabu Osuka, when he was asked about the crazy workload the animators were forced to deal with, he brushed it off saying this kind of grind was necessary to compete in the modern day anime industry, because apparently they were working hard to give fans what they want, but doing all of that at the expense of the animators' health is pretty wild to me. Just the mere thought of keeping late nights for hours on end every other week and then getting 2 days or less to rest after doing all that non-stop work feels like a walking disaster waiting to happen. And this is not the first time we've heard of crazy deadlines and tight schedules in the animation industry, but Studio MAPPA is apparently making it a challenge to see who can run their artists to an early grave first. And in the light of trying unhealthy challenges, YouTuber Bonaye decided to try out becoming a Studio MAPPA animator for 72 hours to see if they could challenge themselves and push their body and skills to the limit in a bid to see if they could survive what it takes to work in the harsh conditions the animators were forced to work in every other day.
For the next 72 hours, I'm gonna work like a MAPPA animator. This means 12-hour shifts and a crazy deadline of only 3 days to make a highly complex animation. Let's hope I can finish this in time and not burn out.
I actually woke up at 7 to be able to make myself some breakfast to get the day started well.
My shifts are gonna be from 9 a.m. all the way to 9 p.m. So eating a nice, nutritious breakfast was gonna be very important.
I think the video is starting off pretty well. Although Bonaye is eating what seems to be an adequate breakfast that might hold him for a couple of hours, if not almost through the morning shifts, I have a feeling the animators working at Studio MAPPA probably wouldn't be eating as much food and will be working for the most part on an empty stomach. But I sure do hope I'm wrong.
My first task was to plan out what I was gonna make, and since it needs to be MAPPA related, I'll be animating a little showdown between Gojo and Sukuna. Not too long after I started drawing, I began to feel terrible, presumably from my lack of quality sleep.
I'm 3 hours in and I just finished the storyboard. Man, I'm exhausted. I feel like I could faint at any moment.
Now I think this part is what's probably going to make his challenge the hardest. You see, usually animators don't have to think about the entire scene and plan it out because someone has already done the storyboards and the animatics, and then the key animator has already laid out the scene for them. So if the animator is just an in-betweener, which is someone who draws the remaining frames after the key animator has done his job, they're practically going to have an easier time than Bonaye here. But let's see how it goes.
The first cut is going to show Sukuna on the ground looking up at Gojo, who is standing on a huge rock. There's also wind blowing in the environment to add some drama. The second cut is a shot of Sukuna's face. He's going to transition from a serious expression to an evil smile, and the wind is still blowing on him. Pause. Cut 3 features a close-up of Gojo's face. The camera slowly zooms in as he blinks and hair blows in the wind. Cut 4 will show fire igniting from Sukuna's hand. Then in cut 5, Sukuna is going to raise his hands to start charging up for an attack. Cut 6 has a crazy camera zoom and rotation shot up to Gojo, revealing that he's charging up his purple attack. In cut 7, Sukuna is going to pop up his head and then raise his hand with fire. Next, in cut 8, Sukuna's fire arrow attack will be revealed with the camera moving away from his face. In cut 9, Sukuna will charge up the fire arrow attack before quickly releasing it with a ton of force. And in the final cut, the camera will zoom out to show both of the attacks colliding with each other. All of this has to be done in only 3 days.
I can't lie, his storyboards actually look pretty good. You can tell he has some experience just making drawings, and I have a feeling his animation at the end is going to look good as well.
MAPPA animators have to deal with stuff like this all the time and under a lot more pressure than me, so I'm only getting a little taste of what they have to go through on the daily. Given the background heavy scenes, I thought it would be a good idea to use quite a bit of CGI to save me some time and a lot of headaches.
Oh my god, background heavy scenes drawing backgrounds has always been the bane of my existence, and just watching him power through it is giving me hope that one day I should be able to draw backgrounds as well.
So I spent a significant amount of time on Blender making the environment where the characters reside.
Oh, that's actually a good trick. So instead of just drawing the entire background, I could just use 3D.
Only for me to learn a very harsh truth. I fucking suck at Blender.
Okay, scratch that. I don't even know how to use Blender at all.
I can't lie, I just wasted so much time trying to figure out the CGI background. It looks horrible. I'm breaking my head over this. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I'm just gonna do this in 2D.
Sometimes things just don't go the way you want them to. So I skip cut 1 for now since it relies on a background to do the animating. My plan is to tackle all of the Sukuna shots first and then move on to the Gojo shots. I then started with cut 2. I drew all of the static elements first, then I animated his mouth transitioning from serious to an evil smile with proper spacing, making the animation look super smooth.
Wait, he actually knows what he's doing. This looks really good. The way he's animating it just looks like what you see an actual animator working at Studio MAPPA.
Alright, now it's time for my little break. I got myself some Panera bread. I'm about to feast. You already know. And I'm kind of sad because I'm kind of cooking right now. But you know what I'm saying? We'll get it back once I continue.
I couldn't find anything on what MAPPA animators typically eat, so for this video, I'll be eating fast food in my 15 to 30 minute break each day, since I assume they don't have much time to prep a nice home-cooked meal most days.
Let's take a wild guess why that will happen. Maybe it's because Studio MAPPA animators aren't allowed to eat at all.
Next, I worked on animating the hair and the clothing. I'm not too proud of how this part of the cut looks, but I really don't have the luxury to make everything to my standards if it wasn't obvious already. I tried to match the colors as closely as possible to the show, and I think I did a good job with that. I'm also keeping the shading to a minimum to stay consistent with the look of season 2.
I think so far his work can pass off as a frame in the actual animation because he's been trying to make it look as close as possible to what the actual animators did, and I think he's been doing a pretty good job so far, especially with his cell shading, which looks just as good as the original show.
Cut 4 was next. Hands. Lord help me. I'm just kidding, I'm not scared of drawing hands. Everything was coming along very nicely up until making the in-betweens of the fingers. I was having some pretty bad inconsistencies with the thickness of each finger, which caused me a lot of problems, and led me to spend a significant amount of time trying to fix that.
Now I understand drawing hands is already a problem for a lot of artists, but animating hands? I mean, I could attempt drawing decent hands for starters, but I can't even think of trying to animate them. That will just suck totally.
Then I got to work on cut 5, which is similar to cut 2 for the most part. I drew Sukuna and yet again animated the hair and clothes waving. Then I sketched out Sukuna's hand coming up, which looked really cool, I can't lie. Before being able to finish this cut, the clock hit 9 p.m., meaning it was the end of the first day.
I fucking did it. I did it. Look at that. It's 9. It is 9.
Now we all know because it's 9 p.m. it just doesn't mean the day is over and you get to pack your bags and go home. No. Put that bag down, drink some water. Now it's time to do your cool down drawings. And then after that, because you're bored and have nothing else to do, you go back to animating so you wouldn't have much work to do the next day, which obviously never happens.
After the day ended, I took a nice hot shower and went to sleep shortly after. And after a long day of work, I should get some really good sleep, right? No, not really.
I think so far this is the part where I don't think is realistic to what animators will actually do. You don't really think they go to bed at 9 p.m. now, do you? Day 2 starts off with him getting his morning walk in and then eating breakfast and hitting the gym for a quick session before getting right into animating.
I continued right where I left off. I cleaned up the animation of the hand, colored it, shaded it in, and animated the fire. I then moved on to cut 7 and cut 8. I stuck both of these together in the same animation timeline since they're kind of connected. The thing about animating close-up faces is you need to be able to draw them consistently, because even if a tiny thing is off, it'll end up looking like a totally different character. So what I ended up doing was tracing the previous onion skin of Sukuna's face and then placing it wherever I wanted it to go. Thank God for digital art.
Thank God for digital art indeed, my brother. I can only imagine how hard Milt Kahl and other old Disney animators had to work since they did almost everything traditionally, which maybe explains why it looks so much better.
I also made sure the hair animation follows the movement of his head so that it flows more naturally. Animating the camera movement for cut 8 turned out to be pretty hard to do, especially getting the foreshortening to look right. I then animated the hand coming in, which is going to be completed once I add the fire to it. I envisioned this cut being a lot smoother, but obviously with a time crunch, my vision for the sequence wasn't going to be fully realized.
Welcome to the life of an animator, my boy. But so far you're doing really good. I can't even lie, you're doing great.
I'm not even kidding, I spent the majority of the day on these 2 cuts. I then immediately started animating the last cut that features Sukuna. Since the charging up of the attack is gonna be a bit long, each frame is gonna be fairly spread out, making it look less smooth, but necessary at this point in order for me to have a chance of finishing this animation. I sketched out the rough animation and even made an impact frame for the release. And after a long day of animating, my second day was coming to an end.
Day 2 is officially finished. I'm nervous. I might be able to do it, I might not. I really hope I can finish it. I really do. It's all up to me, to be honest, so I gotta lock in.
He survived day 2. Congratulations. I think he made quite some progress between day 1 and day 2, but let's see if he can pull it off in day 3.
The more I drew, the more depressed I grew. Ooh, bars. It was truly starting to look hopeless.
This is so sad. I actually have like no time to make this good. Like everything is so off. There's nothing I can do, man. This is actually so sad.
3 p.m. eventually came around, meaning that it was lunch break time.
For my last meal, I got myself some Chipotle. Let's see if they actually hook me up. When you order Chipotle online, they barely give you any food, but it looks like pretty good, not bad.
I then went on to do the cleanup, which took a lot of time, but this workload and this annoying due date was also starting to take my soul.
This is so much work, man. This is so much work, and to think this is like a fraction of what MAPPA animators go through every single day, and I'm already like ready to finish this and never look back and just be done with this. But this is some people's job. Like, it's actually insane. I have no idea how they do it every single day. I'm struggling just like trying to finish this one animation, and like, yeah, I have a due date, but like I don't have the pressure to do it because I don't have a contract with like a company and whatnot. Also, I'm doing this at the comfort of my own home. The fact that there's such low pay in the Japanese anime industry, I would find it very difficult to keep myself all together.
And this is so true. You have all our respect for doing this all by yourself, because it's fucking hard, man. It's hard work.
I went 15 minutes overtime, but after 36 hours of work in only 3 days, this is the final product. Only 16 seconds of animation.
Wow, that looks so good, man. And that was only 16 seconds of animation, which took almost an eternity. This is what these animators literally have to live with every single day for years. Trust me when I tell you this. I do not want to be in their shoes. I think this is a really good video from Bonet, which gives us a glimpse into what it will be like working tight deadlines and insane schedules for an animation studio like MAPPA. And while this was merely a challenge for a few days, these animators really do live like this for months on end, if not years. And I feel like some of the pressure these studios put on their animators is because of fans and consumers like us who put unnecessary pressure on studios, demanding them to release shows in quick succession just because we enjoy them so much and can't wait for another season. And then when they fail to meet these unrealistic deadlines, we clown the studio's attempts at even trying. To be honest, I think MAPPA needs to chill and say no to projects to give their animators more time, and also to make it a deal to pay them better for all the hard work they've been putting in for years. And while Studio MAPPA has created some of the most stunning, emotional and jaw-dropping anime in history, this was only made possible by people who paid for it with their blood, sweat and sleepless nights on end without hoping for this to change in the foreseeable future. So the next time you see a MAPPA masterpiece across your For You page, remember the anime is fire because the team is literally on fire too. And maybe we all should stop fanning the flames and finally start asking the right questions. Well, it looks like you made it to the end of this video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like, share the video with a friend who enjoys JJK just as much as we do, and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. With all that being said, I'll see all you pretty penguins in the next video. Bye.